Alright, so if we want to make this polyphonic, we can verify that it's not polyphonic by each one of these. Each one of those samples interrupts the other one. Polyphonic meaning that we could play more than one sound at a time. I'm going to assume that this is the part of the patch that we want to use in its polyphonicness, and this part here, which sets sample values, sample items, buffers to play back, we're going to assume that's the thing that we want outside our polyphonic player. So the first thing I'm going to make is to make a new patcher. So I'm going to hold the command key on my Mac or control on my PC and hit N for new patcher, and up pops my untitled number 2. And I'm going to copy what's inside of this much of this thing here, which includes everything from, everything excluding that number box, and that easy DAC and my samples. I'll hit Command C or Control C if I was on a PC, and go to my new patcher, hit Command V or Control V if I was on a PC. That's standard copy and paste commands. I'm going to need some kind of way of getting stuff into here, namely the number, and I'm also going to need something to get out of here, namely this signal out from here. And for that I'm going to use a new object, so N on my keyboard for in, and since it's the first in, I'll call it in1, in with a space 1, connecting that to my button and to my message, left inlet. And I'm also going to make something, just typing N, another new object called out with a tilde. Surprise, surprise. And again, I'll give it a number. It's the first outlet, so it's out with tilde with a space 1. And we'll connect the outlet of that play tilde to the inlet of the out tilde. I'm going to save this somewhere. Alright, I'm going to save this as, let me see, let's put it on my desktop here, just for the short term. I'll make a new folder, and I'll call it sampler, just so my desktop doesn't get too messy. And I'll call this thing sampoly.maxpat. Perfect. And I'm going to go back over here where I want to create an instance of that thing I just called sampoly inside something called poly tilde. So we'll make a new object and type in poly tilde, and I'm going to make something, I'm going to load in this thing called sampoly, and I'm going to give it also with a space a number, which will be the number of voices of polyphony, or the number of instances of this thing called sampoly, if you like. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to get when I do that is an error in my Max window saying there is no patcher called sampoly. That's because this patcher here that I'm trying to load sampoly into has not been saved in the same directory. So I'd better save this as something inside this same place in my desktop sampler, inside that sampler folder. I'm going to call this sampler. Yeah, I'm getting really original. So here's my sampler inside that. This won't load automatically. I'll need to change something to get it to instantiate again or create itself again. So I'll just retype the 6 in the 16, and well, we can tell something happened because I got my outlet there. We can also hold Command or Control on a PC and double click to verify that yes, there it is. This gives us the name on the menu bar, whatever you call it, the bar at the top of the patcher. It tells us the name of it, and this 1 in parentheses means that it's the first instance or the first voice of that patch. And so in here, all we need is a number box, so let's make an, whoops, that's a not a number box, it's I on my keyboard here to get a number box to put into the inlet of the poly tilde, and I'm going to put this out to my DAC again, and it's very much the same as what we made over here. Right, if I lock my patch, if I want to change it that way, I can put this number box in here. Sounds distorted all of a sudden, interesting. Alright, then we can verify that this thing is still not polyphonic because the voices do interrupt each other. Alright, so we want to be able to assign this incoming sound, this message to a different instance of the in the poly tilde. So to do that, we're going to use a message called target, a message with the word target in it, not the cheap store, but target with a space and $1, which again is that replaceable argument for a number. And we're going to use something called counter. So this is an object, so N for Nancy on my keyboard. I'll type counter. I want a counter that counts up, although it doesn't really matter, which is 0 for the first argument, and its starting value would be 1, and its highest value would be 16. So this is 0 is for counting up, 1 would be for counting down, 2 would be for counting up and down. 1 means it starts at 1, and 16 is the count maximum. So this thing is going to, when it gets a bang, which we can see this inlet says bang are counted, bang usually in this case would have a S for plural, making it a plural, but never mind. So we're going to bang this thing to make it count up in this case because of the 0. I'll stick this button in here for the bang. There's my button. Connect the button to the left inlet of the counter there. My number box from here into the button, like so. The outlet of my counter, the left outlet of the counter into the left inlet of my message saying target, and the outlet of the target message into the poly tilde, and that should be finished now. If I lock this patch, I can now twiddle around with these and get multiple samples playing at once. Okay, so that's the end of this tutorial. Tune in soon for another one and have loads of fun and get some real samples. Again, if you want to put some samples into this thing that are your own, just put them into the same directory that we just made called sampler. And you should be able to load them in by name on these buffers. I'll see you later.